Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get straight to the intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all, so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate your support, man. I'm very humbled by it. April 8th is a day that a mother will have to relive forever. April 8th is the day that her son was taken brutally from this earth. And it's unfortunate, and, you know, it's a day that I'm sure will live in infamy in her mind that she's going to replay, especially because the footage of her son being brutally and grisly murdered in a California Department of Corrections prison, Salinas Valley, has been replayed over and over again on social media. Now, the true question is how social media came upon that video, which is CC footage only recorded by the prison system, right? How were people from social media able to obtain that video? Now, I'm not going to lie. I have viewed that video also. It is a video that I have in my phone right now, which I cannot play because of the graphic nature of the video. So before you ask, I can't. But many people don't even have to ask for me to play it because they've already seen it. Okay, on that day of April 8th, Joseph Mendoza from Merced, California, from my neighborhood, from where I grew up, one of my homies, right? Someone who, you know, walk them same streets of Merced the same way I did, right? Was taken from us. And now there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a lot to say about this video. Did he have it coming? Was he in the wrong for what he did? Nobody, and I repeat, nobody has death coming, you know, period. It's just not the way it's supposed to be. And you're not a parent that's supposed to bury your son or your child ever, right? Now, he's made a lot of bad decisions, Joseph Mendoza, in his life. Okay, he made a lot of wrong turns. He grew up in a gang-infested environment around people, man, that I'm sure were not positive role models. Didn't have too many positive role models in his life. But at the end of the day, even with that being said, and with the crimes that he committed, this karma was way too much. Okay, now, this man was convicted out of Fresno County, doing 22 years in a prison, a level 4 facility. Okay, and look, you do the crime, you do the time. That's understandable. That's the way it is. But the environment of Salinas Valley right now, New Folsom, High Desert, these are prisons that are hot, muy calientes. These are prisons right now where it seems like murder after murder has been happening within the last few years. Okay, it almost brings a tear to your eye to think about how many people have lost their lives just in the past few years since the end of hostilities was implemented. And we all know, if you don't know by now, I'm going to let you guys know, these grisly murders that are happening could all quite possibly be prevented if staff, CEOs, and the administration were on it doing their job. But at this point in time, it seems like these murders, they want them to happen. They want it to be as brutal and as graphic as it can be. And the reason being is that the whole objective here is to prove in a court to the judicial system that people are just animals in the prison system, that these organizations, groups, and gangs are the ones doing these heinous crimes, and that their safety and security are jeopardizing the institution, and that they shouldn't be out there, so that they could revalidate them, slam them back forever, and not have to deal with the madness, right? But the madness is this. The madness is there really is no madness. Prison is prison. And you can get killed in prison for a number of things. You could step on someone's shoe, bump into the wrong person, or be on the other end of some bad politics. At the end of the day, man, murders happen. But this one right here hits different. And the reason it hits different is because the mother has to relive that situation every day, and especially on April 8th, because she's seen the footage posted online that we were never supposed to see. Now, a lawsuit has been filed. According to the Sacramento Bbed, the Modesto Bbed, the Merced Sun Star, they're pretty relevant newspapers, right? They put out an article talking about what happened the reasoning behind it, and does the mother and being the plaintiff and the family have a lawsuit that they could actually stand on? And I say absolutely. The reason being is this. If you read into the article, which I implore you guys to read into the article, I can read it for you. I'll do that right here. And that's going to kind of shed some light on exactly what happened. So let me get down to reading it. It's called California Prison Staff Didn't Stop Murder. Posted grisly footage online, the lawsuit claims. A lawsuit has been filed on behalf of the family members of Joseph Mendoza. Okay. California correctional officers failed to stop the brutal killing of a 36-year-old man in prison and later shared video footage of the man being stabbed to death online. A wrongful death lawsuit filed against the state by the victims' families this week alleges. Joseph Mendoza, and again, you know, when I speak, I've done videos prior about Joseph. I think I did one or two. I kept it as correct and as real as I could, and I kept it as respectful for the family as I could, because at the end of the day, I think all victims, and he was a victim in this situation, should be, because he was killed over frivolous fucking reasons, over gang-related political reasons. But at the same time, I also believe that the family deserves more from us on social media than just disrespect or not getting our facts straight. Anyways, Joseph Mendoza was attacked by 2 inmates with makeshift knives on April 8th on the floor of a Salinas Valley State Prison facility. For over a minute and a half, Edgar Ferrer and Nicholas Young repeatedly stabbed Mendoza in the torso, back, and eyes until he was incapacitated, according to video footage of the attack reviewed by the Sacramento Bee. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation identified Ferrer and Young as the attackers in the news release on the day of the incident. The Salinas Valley State Prison Investigative Services Unit and Monterey County District Attorney's Office launched an investigation. The federal complaint filed in the Northern District of California alleges that California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation staff failed to follow protocol. Absolutely, right? By not protecting someone in custody and by not intervening in the attack earlier. If you watch the video footage, which I was subjected to, I will tell you that there was plenty of errant opportunity for staff to intervene. You know, I've been in plenty of prisons, level 4s as well as level 3s. And in every facility, there's always a sign that says no warning shots, meaning if you are seen with the weapon or using a weapon on another inmate, they do not have to identify that they're going to shoot. They could kill you fatally to prevent you from murdering another inmate or hurting yourself. That's the truth, right? So it's, no warning shots is going to come real big into play here. Okay. By not protecting someone in custody, by not intervening in the attack. Additionally, lawyers representing the victim's family argue CDC staff invaded Mendoza's privacy by sharing footage of his murder. It had to come from someone on the inside. It wasn't camera footage from someone's cell phone. It was definitely CC footage. That's a fact. I've watched it over and over again. And there's even a glitch in the video, kind of like CC cameras do. I remember seeing it thinking, wow, how did this video get produced? It had to be sent out by a CEO, man, that wanted someone to see that footage. The plaintiff's lawyer said the sharing of the incident on social media violated a California legislator's law passed in 2020 following the death of basketball legend Kobe Bryant, which bars first responders from sharing footage of deceased victims. So this actually goes and ties into the Kobe Bryant case, because when he first passed away, people were obviously throwing out there grisly footage of his and his daughter's body, and of course the pilot's body, the wreckage. And so they passed a legislation that it's violating their constitutional rights and the law. CDCR spokesperson Terry Hardy said in a statement that the department does not comment on pending litigation, meaning they know they fucked up, right? The video of Mendoza's killing, which appears to have been filmed from the perspective of closed-circuit televisions, again, CCTV, like I said, has been posted on several social media accounts, said Brian Harrison, an attorney representing Mendoza, the family. Harrison said it's clear that CDCR staff who had access to CCTV footage released it. This This footage was malicious, reckless, and without any legitimate correctional purpose. It served only to gratify curiosity, shock viewers, and humiliate Mendoza and his family, the complaint reads. The video of her son's death circulating on social media have traumatized Zena Kumatat, Mendoza's mother, right? Who is a personal friend of mine, just so you know. Who wants to see your son being murdered on social media? she said in an interview. It was the most gruesome murder ever. I have it in my mind when I wake up and when it's up and when I get up and it's there. My heart goes out to her having to relive that. And people continue to post it online. Very upsetting, man. The world we live in is all drama and chaos. In 2009, Mendoza was convicted in Fresno County of over 22 years in prison for robbery and attempted murder. So he wasn't a saint. And I'm sure his mother knows he wasn't a saint. But he did not deserve to be brutally killed in the way he was over something as frivolous as what I'm going to read to you. He was sent to Salinas Valley State Prison, which houses roughly 2,400 minimum and maximum custody incarcerated individuals. The complaint alleges that Ferrer and Young targeted the victim because prison staff confiscated a significant amount of contraband and controlled substances from Mendoza that belonged to gang-affiliated individuals in the prison. So basically, he got contraband sucked up. That's what it's called. They hit his cell or hit his person, and they found contraband which was not his, which was part of the group's, you know what I'm saying, their bag. And I've seen people whacked or removed because of that. You know, you get caught. And it's unfortunate, man. You don't know when their cops are going to get you, when people are telling on you and you're targeted to be searched or put on potty watch. Obviously, man, he got the fucking contraband sucked up. So now he's responsible for either paying that back or whatever comes next. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it works. Mendoza was affiliated with the Norteno prison gang, according to court documents, and was aware of the threats to his safety after the contraband was confiscated. Now this is a big one. He did request protective custody, but Salinas Valley State Prison staff did not remove him from the general population, the lawsuit alleges. Now, that's a big one right there. That right there pretty much solidifies that he voiced that he was in danger. He asked for protective custody. And before all you JCAT and weird active gang members that want to come in here and gangbang, oh, he deserved it because he was a piece of shit and all that. Why don't you refrain from doing that and talk later, man, amongst yourselves and not online about someone who died like this behind a cause he believed in for a lot of years, you know, and accidentally got something sucked up, right? Of course, man, he's in a bad position. He's in Salinas Valley, one of the most dangerous prisons in the state of California. He decided it was time to go, man. You can't knock anyone until you're in that position. I've always said that. Now, whether you want to sit there and believe that you would have got stabbed and took it for the team just like he did, not many would. The two attackers who allegedly are affiliated with the prison gang descended upon Mendoza in a high-risk area of the prison facility, stabbing him over 100 times in the torso, back, face, neck, head, and eyes. And for those of you that don't know, it happened in the day room area, of course, where the sign no warning shots will be fired. And there were several other inmates that were in the same area at the time. They backed up against the wall and let these guys do what they did. I'll tell you this, in prison, I've always said it. Everybody knows what's going to happen. And the only one that doesn't know is the person it's happening to. In this case, he knew something was coming. He was trying to get away from that situation, and no one extended the hand to help him. Despite being armed with Mini 14 rifles within reach and a training to use force to halt the assault, officers stood by and observed as Mendoza was butchered and left to die, the filing states. Later that day, CDCR released a statement about the attack, stating the staff immediately responded and issued several verbal commands to stop, which were ignored. If you do listen, you could hear several different verbal commands being issued. But like I said, no warning shots fired looms big over this case. Staff then deployed multiple less than lethal use of force options, which ultimately quelled the incident after he was already dead and they stomped a knife in his eye. Harrison vehemently disagreed with the statement. He said video footage of the attack shows that correctional staff didn't intervene quickly enough or with sufficient force to stop the repeated stabbing. They're trained to respond with lethal force. They're trained to respond to lethal force with lethal force. CDCR announced Sunday that it is investigating its fifth killing at Salinas Valley State Prison in 2025 after Kevin Torres, 25, was found unresponsive in his cell. So this is something that continues to go on and on and on and on. Okay. Again, Joseph Mendoza was a homeboy of mine from my neighborhood. Did I personally have interaction with him? I seen him a time or two. He was a youngster to me, right? I knew his family. I knew who he was. I knew what he was about. He was very dedicated to his cause, dedicated to his beliefs, dedicated to the Norteno movement. That's a fact, as most from the neighborhood I grew up are involved, right? I was at some point in time in my career very involved, right? I've seen plenty of people hit for numerous reasons in prison and even on the streets, lives being taken frivolously for frivolous reasons. Now, I understand the whole reasoning behind this. He got contraband taken. People felt at that point in time, man, he was basically a loose end. He was a weak link. Still, The way that these dudes killed him, and we are talking about dudes who were actually his friends, dude who actually were introduced to his mother, dudes that knew him intimately and pretty well, right? And rubbed shoulders with them and walked that yard, just how quick they could flip to stomping knives in his eyes like he was an enemy or an opposition. That right there was more, there was more to it, more politics behind that. And that's a certain situation where guys that are hitters believe that, man, it's going to get them brownie points with a certain organization or group, that they're going to be looked at differently because they're willing to put in work, right? When at the end, all it does is hurt several different families. Joseph Mendoza's family definitely has a big chance at a very big settlement. Or of course, if they take it all the way to the box, they can get very compensated very well. Now, at the same time, that doesn't bring the family's son back to them. That doesn't bring this grieving mother's son back to her, right? People need to respect people's wishes by keeping certain things offline and watching what they say concerning a death like this. You know, when the video was first dropped, and I couldn't believe it, it was sent to me by some person. I'm not going to speak their name. I had Aaron opportunity being a prison YouTube content creator, even though I don't like that, but that's the title it is. I could have easily posted something online showing certain footage, went behind the scenes with it. But my reasoning for not doing that was, one, I know who his family is. Two, I knew who he was, and he wasn't a bad kid growing up, man. He just had a bad environment to grow up in, and he was around people, man. And hey, just like myself, I compare him to myself a lot because he was someone that was disillusioned with the cause. That definitely isn't for everyone. I'm not going to talk shit about the Norteno cause. I'm not going to say that everybody is like this, but I'm going to say that he definitely rocked for a cause that never rocked for him. They only rocked on him, unfortunately. You know, this is a situation where the family filing this lawsuit is going to hurt the CDC, but I believe that they'll either do a settlement because they don't want to make a lot of noise, or do they? See, on the flip side of this, we all know that CDC has been letting these grisly murders happen lately because they want to slam everyone back in the shoe. Okay, they want an indeterminate shoe program going on. They want to re-implement the validation of validating people and locking them up for an undetermined time, right? When they lost in the courts due to the end of hostilities and the hunger strikes, that really was egg on the face of CDCR. Now, I'm not here to say that CDCR is not doing righteous by locking people up. If you break the law, you do your time. But a lot of these murders that have happened within the last 5 to 10 years could have been prevented, or they could have at least, applied the correct amount of security in this situation. Beings that Joseph asked to be placed in protective custody because he knew what was coming, they're definitely liable for that. That's a fact. Due to the fact that he was in a common area where it said no warning shots, and they did not take lethal, like I said, lethal action with lethal action, they're definitely, it's their fault. Okay, the fact that two known killers, two known people that were doing an exorbitant amount of time decided to kill him, the reasoning behind it doesn't matter. That's between gangs, that's between their politics and between what's going on. The matter at hand is that the CDCR definitely they bear a responsibility to protect any inmate who is locked up. Now, we know prison murders happen all the time, but the fact that they released the footage, that was calculated. They wanted to release this footage, not as a favor to a friend, but they wanted to release this footage because they want people to see just how bad it is. So later on, they could take this footage to the Supreme Court or to whatever and file a lawsuit saying, this is what we're having to deal with every day. This is what's going on. This is how out of control the prison system is. And then at the same time, win a lawsuit to slam people back. And it's all about being upset to the fact that they lost the lawsuit in the first place, and that these guys that were slammed in the back in the shoe were attributed many of more incentives than they were given in previous years, right? It kind of changed everything. Now, does that mean that prison murders are going to stop? Absolutely not. But maybe this is an eye-opening experience for CDCR to definitely implement some new safety measures and to retrain some of these staff that are on the compa, on the building, at the yard when these things happen. For Joseph's mom, my condolences forever. Like I said, she's a personal friend, and I do nothing but respect her and her family. I love Joseph to the end and respect him. He was someone from my neighborhood, from my gang, from my group, someone who walked the same shoes that I grew up with. And I'll say this, man, he didn't deserve to go out like that. And he definitely, even if he was playing the politics and he was involved, and of course shit happens, he definitely didn't deserve for his fucking privacy to be violated by it put out there for everyone. And all those guys that are happy, oh, I get to see another prison stabbing. No, have some respect for the family. Have some respect for him. We're talking about someone who rocked for years and years and years in good standing, was all up in the mix, man, and made one mistake of getting searched and getting some contraband sucked up. So he had to pay with not only his life, but his eyes, man. And that definitely right there is shitty. And that's why I implore to people, man, before you get involved in gangs and know what you're doing, understand what you're doing. Because, hey, you could be today's homeboy and yesterday's news, right? I thank the fact that the family is going as hard as they are in the paint, putting some paint where it ain't, and holding CDCR accountable, man, because they do need to be held accountable. Let me know what you guys think, man. I will be doing another video here in the coming weeks about Joseph, kind of a life story on him. I think he deserves it. I kind of want to let you know beforehand, before the gangs, before the prisons, before the attempted murders and the actual murder, what type of person he really was, man. Because I think everybody that walks in life, man, should be given the opportunity for their story to be heard and felt, so that people don't just automatically assume, well, he was an attempted murderer, he was this, so he was a bad person, so he got what bad people get. No, not the way that he was taken, man. That was just a little too much and too extreme. And for CDCR to allow that to be out, they should be held accountable financially and by any other reasons. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. I ask to all you little wannabe gang members and everyone that feels some type of way that you refrain from making bad comments on this video, because the mother, I'm sure, will look at the comments, man. Have some fucking respect. Please have some respect. This is the gun. Bang, bang.